Welcome back to the World of Warcraft news, and let's get straight in to 10.05 launching January 24th, a mere 57 days after Dragonflight launched, which is a pretty damn big improvement over 9.0.5, which not only had less, but also dropped 106 days after Shadowlands, which was pretty much ouch. So this patch brings class changes, new features like the trading post, grey and white gear transmog, new content like the Storm's Fury event and a few other things. And with 10.0.7 being spotted on the private test servers, it sure does seem that Dragonflight is off to a brisk start, which is bloody nice. Just like our sponsor. Okay, you know phishing attacks. That's where scammers try to dupe you into compromising your security by using a fake email and devious stuff like that. Well, NordVPN threat protection can recognize malicious links and warn you before anything goes wrong, stopping that in its tracks. Plus, so much more. NordVPN.com/Bellular Gaming is where you will get an additional bonus gift, so click my link down below. Now, Nord is so handy. Lets you browse the web, of course, as if you're anywhere in the world, which helps you do a lot. I regularly use it to access region-restricted content. There's also the likes of regional price gouging with rental cars, which, as Tom Scott proved, you can actually get around with Nord, which is pretty damn awesome. Of course, they'll keep you safe from other threats, like a lot of phishing, man-in-the-middle attacks, which is basically people making a fake Wi-Fi network to try to pwn you, and much more. I mean, hell, their dark web monitor is just brilliant. You essentially just add your email to it, and they will alert you if your login credentials for any of your sites have appeared in a data breach. So you're not going to be compromised. There's much more too, like NordPass, which makes passwords mega secure, convenient, and just easy. Of course, all in the app and browser extension that are super easy for you to use. You can get our offer with my creator code. You get a bonus gift at nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming. So thanks to them for supporting our channel. With that said, let's go. Thanks for helping me pay the wages, guys. Right. This week in World of Warcraft, things are going on. It is World Quest bonus week. This is more useful than ever with the structure of Dragonflight, especially since completing the weekly quest that comes along with this gets you 2,500 rep for a faction of your choice, which is a whole level of renown. So, pretty damn sweet. World Quests will also yield a double rep, so big gains. Also, Lunar Festival starts next reset, being delayed to the 24th because it's 10.05, that is adding Elders to the Isles. Also, Vault's final wing opens on LFR this week, offering 385 loot, and a pretty damn nice change, where last week's hotfixes buffed the Vigor regeneration rate from the Dragon Rider's Cultivation trait, which I actually recommend that you get. It's increased from 10% over 10 seconds to 400% over 3 seconds, which works out to be so much more useful and a massive buff for gatherers. Finally then, it's also time to celebrate Chinese New Year with a fresh consumption occasion. That is the new 6-month sub promotion, which this time around is adding this, I mean, as always, honestly pretty damn brilliant looking Rabbit mount for Modern and a similar pet for Wrath Classic. Imagine if those were part of the Lunar New Year event, eh? But okay, that's enough salt for now. Turns out World of Warcraft has another rather awkward Chinese New Year celebration that we'll get into later. Mythic plus nerfs then. I mean, it really is something. So first up, Explosive has been tweaked, with 2 annoying interactions going away. So Chillwarn's Whelps and the Overgrown Ancient's Lashers no longer spawn explosive orbs, so no more people getting totally overwhelmed by that. Big improvement. Azure Vaults then. So there's a new 2-second delay before you take damage from the frost pools on Talash Greywing. So that's a fairly massive nerf, actually, and it does make the fight a whole load easier for the healers as well. Part of that is because if you're quick enough, you can completely avoid taking any damage after you drop those pools. So that's pretty damn sweet. Then there are health nerfs to both Talash Greywing and Umberskull, which do just make the bosses quite a bit easier on tyrannical weeks as well. So, yeah, That's definitely good. Next, though, the Ruby Life Pulls, which is one of the ones people talk about the most. So we've got big nerfs to the damage that dangerous adds do in the top ring before the second boss. Rolling Thunder from Thunderhead, the big dragon, which gets applied to 2 random players. That's got a 30% damage reduction, which will result in far fewer one-shots, which is certainly good, especially, once again, on those higher keys, and with overlaps from other damaging abilities like the Cinder Bolts, which themselves have actually been nerfed. Then also a 25% nerf to Flame Gullet's Huge Dot, but of course most people will still opt to skip that mob anyway. As for the Cinderbolt, that nerf is 50%. So although this is technically an avoidable ability because it can be interrupted, obviously depending on your group comp, you maybe will not have enough interrupts, or maybe you won't fully utilize your interrupts to cover all the casts. So that's a pretty damn big nerf that'll be noticeable during the big overlaps with that big dot that the Blazehound Destroyers apply, which, by the way, itself has also been nerfed by 25% as well. So a lot of tuning going on. The Inferno Core dot that Karaka puts on random players has also been nerfed, this time by 20%, in addition to the Cloudburst damage that Stormvein does being nerfed by 30%, which, big few for that one. You see, whenever there'd be a big overlap of the Inferno Core dots and the Cloudburst damage, that would almost certainly result in some deaths. Again, obviously depending on your keystone level, but your huge DRs or immunities would kind of need to be used there. So this should result then in far less damage going out, which certainly will make healers' time quite a bit less hectic and sweaty, while also reducing the, just the number of potential one-shots that are going around. Of course, we also do need to add to this that there is a wealth of nerfs from last week as well. And sticking with the Ruby Life Pulls, no wonder they're being nerfed. The Hellbomb trigger damage is nerfed 40%, while the party-wide AoE from the initial cast is down by 66%. These are pretty big changes. Blizzard noted that these were scaling pretty damn brutally, so that's good. Blazehoof was also nerfed, seeing the Searing Wounds dot and Scorched Earth reduced by a quarter. That's just one example. There's a lot. Intensity and Agony from Temple were nerfed by like 40%. A lot of things. Last week's maintenance then also saw a lot of class changes, like really a lot. So Feral Druids, you guys got a 3% damage buff across the board. Vengeance was just made a little bit more tanky, which will be nice for them. Devastation Evoker saw a range of 10 to 20% damage buffs, which is pretty sweet, while Survival got 2% across the board, and then further AoE buffs that are really to the tune of 10% for Butchery, Carve, and Fury of the Eagle, with your Wildfire Bomb then getting a slightly larger 20% buff. As for the mages, oh boy, Fire and Frost have really been lagging behind. You guys needed buffs. You have got them. Will they be enough? Probably not. So Frostbolt is up 20%, Ray of Frost 40% buff, Glacial Spike 10%. Again, nice, but probably not enough. I don't know if those talents will be used. Fire got an AoE buff then, 25% more damage for Living Bomb and 15% for Flame Strike. Then the not tremendously picked Mistweaver Monk got a 5% flat buff, plus an extra 5% to Vivify, as well as 5 to 16% buffs to their core damage kit, and a talent buff to the tune of 10% more for the Spinning Crane Kick damage to healing. So that's pretty nice. For the priests then, well, the already weak Discipline Priest has not seen anything, while Holy got a 3% buff, and Shadow got a bunch of like 15% buffs aimed at improving their single target damage, and then a focused will nerf to the tune of basically PvP concerns. Warlock saw big buffs then, ranging between 5 and 20% for many of the core Affliction and Destruction spells, but to be honest with you, I'm still not sure if it's going to be enough to catch them up to where Demonology is. It certainly hurts when you're like a Warlock or a Mage and you have 3 DPS specs to choose from, but one of them is just so wildly above the others that you feel like you don't have a choice. That's a really large issue. I'm glad they're jumping on it here. Maybe they need to be a bit more aggressive. Then, and let me know if you've ever heard this one before, in a move that will shock absolutely nobody, Blade Flurry is still pretty good in Mythic Plus, so Blizzard have therefore nerfed precise cuts. Finally, for the Paladins, well, you guys have seen 40% buff to Crusader Strike, 25% to Blade of Justice, 15% to Final Reckoning, and a 25% reduction to Shield of Vengeance's cooldown, which is pretty sweet for survivability. Now, it still is likely not enough, but the good news is Blizzard know that. They actually chimed in with a developer note on the hotfixes saying that they're looking at this spec as a whole, and they will share changes later. So my read in that is that a micro rework is maybe scoped for like 10.07 or 10.1. You know, not a expansion to expansion level of change to be sure, but I would expect quite a few maybe very targeted changes, which would be good. I mean, Paladins, I know like Rat Paladins have honestly been pretty miffed for quite a while. It was a big feature of the beta testing for this expansion, so sucks that it's a bit late, but it is good that they're still actually within the patch cycle doing proper work. I mean, that's just my takeaway. Like a pretty good example, there wasn't a good AoE rage dump for Bear Druids. 10.05 will actually add that into the game, which is really nice. And it doesn't have like a big fancy animation or something. It was clearly just Blizzard saying, okay, we'll have to take the L in the animation, but we just need to get this bit of, toolkit in for this patch. So I think that's just better. Well, yeah, better thinking, I guess, and more responsiveness, which is good. Next then, World of Warcraft players all across China are ready to celebrate Chinese New Year with actually quite a massive oof, because as we previously reported, the deal has broken down between Blizzard and NetEase. And it's resulted in this situation now, with NetEase actually dissolving their Blizzard sort of game team. And that's led to a lot of job losses. And all of this is right as Blizzard is promoting the new 6-month mount for Chinese New Year, which, I mean, to be honest, it is straight up just kind of funny timing. But it is a messy situation. Blizzard and NetEase seem to be slipping into the sort of area of mudslinging. The PR is bad. And this is just really bad for players of the game in China who have loved it for such a long time. Now, I've got our news team working on a full breakdown, so look forward to that over on our news channel. But for right now, I think it just sucks that our fellow World of Warcraft players are not going to be able to play for a period of time right as the new expansion comes out, and it's a really good one. That's just so shitty. WoW broke because all throughout last week, and maybe even before, many players across NA and EU regions were reporting that their Raid and Mythic Plus groups were just being randomly disbanded. Yeah, mid-boss fight. Mid-key. Imagine if that depleted a key. I mean, wow, a lot of disruption, a lot of frustration. In EU, this seemed to predominantly be a feature of the Taran Mill and Twisting Nether server, so good for them. And in NA, it seemed to largely be Area 52 and Illidan. Of course, these are all very high population servers, ensuring that this new feature was experienced by many people. Now, this obviously was dominating social media, a damn rough situation overall. Now, there's been no official big post about these issues or like a timeline or loads of details, but there at least was some form of response from the North America Blizzard CS team over on Twitter, where they basically just said, look, we're aware of the issues, we're currently looking into it, fixes are being worked on. Now, after that, servers had some restarts a few days ago by now, so hopefully that's it resolved. I would check, but I mean, I'm in Ravencrest and it's been fine. What I would love to see, though, is a engineering breakdown. Of course, the launch of this expansion was not without its quirks and features, and the engineering team gave us a really, really good technical breakdown of how actually the game's new encryption system led to a whole bunch of stuff that caused launch era instability, and wow, it was really fascinating. Next then, a small but I think important story that's about care and attention to the lore, which obviously is what we want, and after some feedback and some signal boosting by the likes of Wowhead, it is what we're now getting. In line with Priest and Rogue being available for every race in World of Warcraft, well, bar the Drakthir, Blizzard planned to add a bunch of trainers into the game of those races in 10.05. But not all of them went down well. There's some of them that do have, like, potential. I mean, one of them is this, like, space pirate Draenei, who basically has just arrived back from his voyage and is a rogue. You know, there to teach Draeneis how to be rogues. So, I mean, it'd be cool if he was elaborated on. And that then leads me to the bad side, which is the very generic Sister Bright Tusk and Brother Lighthoof. I mean, come on, bit in the nose, guys. So Blizzard seemed to agree that those are a letdown. They're actually now removing the Orc, Tauren, and High Mountain trainers. And my read into this is that basically they'll re-add these trainers when it makes sense, when the story fits. I mean, when Night Elves could become mages, number one, I remember the drama then, but they at least in Kata had a quest that explained it. When Taurens became paladins, we had the whole Sunwalker thing. When Blood Elves became paladins, we had the whole Blood Knight thing. So these can be great opportunities for Blizzard to expand the racial lore with the class options. I hope they do that, especially if it's going to mean that Space Pirate Draenei gets elaborated on. That'd be sweet. Another major problem, this is straight up a massive L. So group loot for raids has been updated with some extremely important changes that were basically coming into effect immediately, with some others coming in patch 10.0.5. Probably noticed loot issues, so these changes include preventing players from winning need rolls on duplicate items in a single session, which they were not supposed to be able to do, but tier tokens then have more conditions for need rolls. Players no longer are going to be able to roll need on profession recipes that they've, already learned. And weapons are having more conditions for need rolls as well, with the need roll dupe fix thankfully already being live. It was insane that was happening. People just able to win 2 of the same tier token and deny it from somebody else. That's shit. The rest of these changes come in 10.05. So look, it's great this has been fixed, but for whatever reason, the loot rules were not really working as described, which was, of course, the worst in PUGs and in LFR. And I think that's really unfortunate because the loot rules had seemed really robust, like they would cap a lot of the potential downsides of group loot. So I think it's unfortunate that group loot has been kind of soured. Yeah, I don't know. So it is what it is. Glad the changes are here, and I suppose now that the problem's fixed, that just, that's that. It's fixed going forward. Next then, Rated Solo Shuffle. I think a big win of this expansion, and it's seen an update from Blizzard last week. So, this is good stuff. They're introducing harsher penalties for leavers, and then changes to how rating is calculated for matches with leavers. There's more visibility into the matchmaking, like MMR of people. Really good changes, and basically Helinka explained that the delay here was the result of staff being on Christmas break, decision-making, like having to actually make the right decision, and then getting communications right, all taking time. It's something where the solo shuffle people were really, really chomping at the bit for fixes. So that's all really good. Of course, their next big target will be working out how to get DPS queues down. So I would presume that's going to be by getting more healers into solo shuffle. Either way, from the subjective feedback of those around me, it seems like this feature's been a massive win. I haven't actually sort of stepped into it yet. I really want to, though. So I guess for now, let me know how it's going for you. Good changes. And Blizzard are in the mood of responding to feedback because professions have faced problems, right? People can feel like they've bricked their profession, the progressions may be slow, that catch-up is next to impossible. So Blizzard have responded to the Community Council, a big thread that was basically just offering some critique. So broadly, they think the new crafting order system is a success, but they also do recognize that it does have some issues. I mean, hey, I've barely even seen one. With it being new, though, they don't want to make any snap judgments, like, way too early. I mean, you can make a snap judgment, but it could turn out that the cause of the problem you're trying to solve is actually, a downstream effect of something else. So you want to do those things in the right order. But that said, the downside of being overly cautious is that the pain points are being felt right now. Anyway, it was interesting to read through their feedback, and there are some interesting tidbits. It actually turns out that even though, like, a lot of the time you go to look for work orders through and they're not there, that's actually because it takes basically no time to fulfill a work order. You click on it, you click craft. And that means that the board kind of always appears empty, which is awkward. So now they've limited it to 4 a day. It used to be like 20, so seemingly that's them trying to reduce crafter supply while maybe leaving demand unchanged, which I suppose would be good. It would help to spread out the love, because for a lot of people, those work orders are their lifeline to increase their skill points. And thankfully, in line with that, they also did reduce the specialization unlock requirements in terms of skill points. That's for ones that have got 3 or 4 specs. That's really good. I think that's Blizzard also realizing that maybe work orders are not getting as many people skill increases as they had originally intended. So broadly speaking, good changes. Again, we'll have to see how this grows and develops over time though. For less concrete things and just their intent going forward, they want to better facilitate communication. They want to improve interactions where inspiration is playing a major role in the final quality of the item, and they just want to add a bunch of quality of life features and tweaks. So honestly, I'd like to hear more, but I'm glad we've seen this feedback, and I think broadly speaking, if you were to have a takeaway from today's video, it is that now that that team is broadly back from their holidays and back at work, we have seen loads of Mythic Plus hotfixes. We have seen loads of class tuning hotfixes. We have patch 10.0.5 that itself has got many, many, many class changes, including ones that are really pretty damn nice, like, say, Guardian Druids getting that AoE rage dump. So, while not everything is exactly where we want it to be, we're seeing communication, right? We are seeing all of those like measurable indicators of genuine progress being made. And that is just so good in a world where the 0.05 kind of follow-up to launch patch is essentially launching in half the time as it did with Shadowlands, and with so much more responsiveness and so much more communication from the team. I think this is exactly what, it's exactly what I wanted to see. I imagine it's exactly what most of you wanted to see, which is really good. You know, I don't need the game to suddenly be a 10 out of 10. I just need to feel confident that it's on the path. And at least right now, Blizzard seem to be constantly showing me that they're on the right path. And that just feels really damn good. So that's it for today's video. Of course, if you want to support what we're doing, you can check out today's sponsor. Also, we've got some pretty snazzy announcements. Check out the Bellular Studios YouTube page for a new trailer and Pale Beyond release date. But I'll talk more about that on this channel a little bit soon. Okay, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.